Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Professor Mindscape, and in today's video we'll be talking about what would happen if we never recycled. There will be a quiz in a random part of this video, so pay very close attention. Imagine waking up tomorrow in a world where recycling never existed. No blue bins on the curb, no symbols with 3 chasing arrows, no second chances for plastic bottles, paper or aluminum cans. Everything we use, every package, every wrapper, every broken item is used once and thrown away forever. At first, that might not sound very different from how some people live today, but if the entire world never recycled, the consequences would be massive, irreversible, and deeply personal. Let's start with the most obvious impact: trash. Right now, the average person produces about 4 to 5 pounds of waste every single day. Multiply that by billions of people, every day, every year. Without recycling, every piece of waste would end up in landfills, incinerators, or the natural environment. Landfills would grow at an unbelievable rate, swallowing open land near cities and creeping into rural areas. Entire ecosystems would be buried under mountains of garbage. As landfills filled up, countries would face a brutal choice: destroy more natural land or ship their trash somewhere else, often to poorer regions that already suffer the most from pollution. And when trash doesn't stay in landfills, it ends up somewhere even worse: our oceans. Without recycling, plastic waste would explode. Plastic bags, bottles, food containers, and packaging would flow through rivers and storm drains straight into the sea. Over time, the oceans would become less water and more waste. Marine animals would mistake plastic for food, starving with full stomachs. Coral reefs would suffocate. Entire food chains would collapse. And here's the uncomfortable truth: the plastic wouldn't just stay in the ocean. It would break down into microplastics, enter the fish we eat, the water we drink, and eventually, our own bodies. If the world never recycled, we would constantly need new raw materials. More trees would be cut down for paper, more oil would be drilled for plastic, more metal ores would be mined for aluminum and steel. Forests would shrink faster than they already are, destroying habitats and reducing the planet's ability to absorb carbon dioxide. Mining operations would tear into mountains and poison nearby water supplies with toxic runoff. Entire communities would be displaced so the rest of the world could keep consuming at the same pace. This leads directly to another major consequence: energy use and climate change. Making products from raw materials requires far more energy than making them from recycled ones. Producing aluminum from raw ore, for example, uses up to 95% more energy than recycling it. Without recycling, global energy demand would skyrocket. Power plants would burn more fossil fuels. Greenhouse gas emissions would rise sharply. Global temperatures would climb faster, intensifying heat waves, droughts, wildfires, and floods. Climate change wouldn't be some distant threat, it would become an everyday emergency. A world without recycling would be a dirtier, more toxic place. Overflowing landfills release methane gas, a powerful contributor to climate change, and leak harmful chemicals into soil and groundwater. Incinerators would burn more waste, releasing pollutants into the air that increase asthma, heart disease, and cancer rates, especially in low-income communities that are often located near waste facilities. Pollution wouldn't be evenly distributed. The people who consume the least would suffer the most. Now it's quiz time. I'll ask you some questions and let's see how much you get right. Question number 1. How much waste does an average person produce a day? Is it A, 4 to 5 pounds of waste every single day? Or is it B, 2 to 4 pounds of waste every single day? If you said A, 4 to 5 pounds of waste every single day, then you are correct. Okay, now, question number 2. Which potent greenhouse gas is released in large amounts as waste decomposes in landfills? A, oxygen. B, nitrogen. C, methane. D, helium. If you said C, methane, you are correct. Question number 3. What would happen to landfills if all recycling stopped immediately? A. They would shrink as people use less. B. They would overflow and reach capacity much faster. C. They would become safer for the environment. D. Nothing would change. Landfills are infinite. If you said B, they would overflow, then you are correct. Question number 4. Without recycling, what would happen to the energy required to make new products? A. Energy consumption would decrease. B. Energy consumption would increase, as raw materials require more energy to process than recycled ones. C. Energy needs would remain exactly the same. If you said B, energy consumption would increase, you are correct. Question number 5.1. What impact would a lack of recycling have on wildlife and biodiversity? A. Habitats would expand and become cleaner. B. Increased pollution and habitat destruction for raw material extraction would harm biodiversity. C. Animals would adapt to live in landfills. If you said B, increased pollution and habitat destruction, you are correct. Comment down below how many questions you got right. We haven't even scratched the surface of what climate change can do yet, because it will also have a major economic impact on us people as we know it. Recycling creates millions of jobs worldwide, from collection and sorting to processing and manufacturing. In a world without recycling, those jobs simply wouldn't exist. Governments would spend far more money managing waste, cleaning polluted environments, and treating pollution-related illnesses. Raw materials would become scarcer and more expensive, driving up the cost of everyday products. What looks cheap and convenient in the short term would become incredibly expensive in the long run. But perhaps the most devastating consequence of a world without recycling is what it says about our values. Never recycling means accepting a culture of pure disposability. It means treating the earth as a bottomless trash can and an endless supply closet at the same time. It teaches future generations that responsibility ends the moment something is thrown away. That mindset doesn't just harm the planet, it reshapes how we see our role in the world. Because the truth is, recycling is about more than materials. It's about choice. Every time we recycle, we choose to reduce harm instead of ignoring it. We choose to slow down destruction instead of speeding it up. We choose to acknowledge that our actions matter, even when the impact feels small. A world that never recycled would be a world that decided convenience was more important than consequences. So what would happen if the world never recycled? We would drown in our own waste. We would strip the planet of its resources. We would poison our air, water, and bodies. We would accelerate climate change and deepen global inequality. And eventually, we would be forced to face the damage. Only then, it might be too late to undo. Recycling isn't a perfect solution. It doesn't fix everything, but it represents something powerful. The idea that humans can learn, adapt, and take responsibility for the messes we create. The real question isn't what would happen if we never recycled. The real question is this: knowing what we know now, can we afford not to?